All right, my second totally impromptu, totally spur of the moment YouTube live in the course of only a few days. I just feel like being on YouTube live right now unexpectedly. I am bored. And in case any of my fans or followers out there right now are bored too, and you happen to be scrolling through YouTube and you see me pop up, welcome. Um, I have nothing in mind whatsoever to talk about right now. I have no theme, no topic. So if you have a question and you're watching, feel free to ask. I hesitate to use the abbreviation AMA, Ask Me Anything. I would say it's like a keto health nutrition AMA and not like a Amy's private life AMA, because you are actually welcome to ask me anything, but I don't have to answer everything. I will probably answer your keto and health and nutrition related questions. Might not answer the other stuff. You can ask me anything. I might not answer anything. Anyway, here we are. It looks like there's 13 people watching. So if anyone does have a question, feel free to leave a comment or ask a question. I also am kind of starting to run a little low on ideas for my normal videos, my pre-recorded videos. And I I recorded 3 yesterday. So I have a couple in the hopper, but I like to have several videos recorded ahead of time so that I'm never backed into a corner, so to speak. I never have like a week or two where there's just nothing to post. I guess if I have a week where there's nothing to post, I could just pop up live like I'm doing right now. But those of you who followed me for a long time know that I have been in and out of very bad depression. And when I'm in a period where the depression is kind of bad, the last thing I want to do is put on makeup and make myself look human and do a video. So when I'm feeling better, I have to record like 3, 4, 5 videos over the course of a day or two, have a little stockpile. So I never know when I'm going to have a good day or a bad day. So I kind of have to strike while the iron is hot, while they say, and when I'm in a good mood and I have a list of topics to do, I can get several of them done. Kind of running out. I have maybe one or two topics right now that I know off the top of my head that are pending for me to record. One of them, I have to figure out how to set my phone up. Somebody gifted me one of those ring lights, and it has a place where you can put your phone. I almost never record videos on my phone. Every time you see me on YouTube, it's my webcam. Like right now, I have an external webcam that I'm using right now that I'm talking to you through. But this light, I'm pointing there because it's over there. I don't have it set up right now. It has a little space where you just put your phone and you record on your phone. And I want to do that because I want to be in my kitchen, which is over there, showing you some of my cookware, because I want to do a video on food prep, like advanced cooking in bulk, how to make keto much simpler and easier by doing that. And I could do it just sitting in my normal space and being like, here's my Pyrex dish and here's my baking tray, and hold them up. I'd rather just show you in the kitchen. So and I don't, I'm not Tom DeLauer, I'm not the Keto Connect couple. I don't have lots of money to like have a fancy setup in my home. It's me and a webcam. And believe it or not, right now my webcam is perched on top of 2 boxes and I'm sitting on my normal chair, but I have a styrofoam box and 2 of my biochemistry textbooks that are this big to help you even see any of this. I guess it's a painting. It's a cheap painting that I got from like wayfair.com or something. But sometimes when I record, you notice you can only see like from here down because I just don't feel like sitting on the styrofoam box and my textbooks. So someday I will take a little effort to figure out just a nicer setup, a better background, maybe have like diplomas hanging up. I don't know. For now, it's just me on some boxes. This is what I call a low budget operation. I do see some comments. Let's see if anyone has any questions. Love watching your live videos. Thank you, Rose Lily. Tennessee. Oh, the former New Yorker. Thank you, Joy. You left a very nice comment on my video the other day, I think on the sweeteners. Thank you for that. Glad I could catch you. Sorry if I have to go. Yeah, nobody's required to tune in, but I appreciate if anyone happens to be on YouTube and sees me come up. I'll be wanting to publish keto while exploring the world. Any tips? I love to cook. Publish keto. Oh, you mean, oh, you're trying to publish a book? Is that what you're asking, Michael? Or Michelle? Sorry, Michelle, not Michael. Michelle, you might be French or French Canadian. It depends. It depends on whether you want to self-publish and do it all on your own or go through a publishing company. I've done both. So it really just depends on what you want to do. Oh, somebody's in Australia. So it's Thursday morning for you. Wow. Yeah, I am, let's see. What should I share with you first as to what's going on right now? Many of you have heard this name. Some of you haven't, I'm sure. Dr. Malcolm Kendrick out of, I think he's in Scotland. He might be, I want to say the UK, but I think Scotland is part of the UK. The United Kingdom still is Scotland. He is a physician. He's a GP. His newest book is called The Clot Thickens. He has like at least, I think, 3 other books, all of them about cardiovascular disease, statins. One of them, I think it's called Doctoring Data, is about the manipulation of statistics in health research in general, but also in the mass media, and how you can twist the numbers to make it look like anything you want. Anyway, I adore Malcolm Kendrick. This is basically all about how cardiovascular disease has nothing whatsoever to do with your cholesterol level. And I'm not telling you that. I'm just telling you that's what this book is about. I kind of agree. I'm not ready to say yet I fully agree, but he makes a darn good case. I'm only a little bit in, but I've been reading his blog for years. If you enjoy my sarcasm and snark, whether on my videos or on my blog that I hardly ever write for anymore, I am nothing in the snark department compared to Malcolm Kendrick. He is the king. I bow to him. This book is self-published, and so his grammar is not necessary. He writes the way he speaks. So if you can picture somebody speaking to you in a very casual, sarcastic manner, it won't bother you to read it. But if you're looking for like always full sentences and syntax, not going to be there. Anyway, The Clot Thickens. He is, like I said, I'm only a couple of chapters in, and it's already hard to imagine how anyone could read that book and come away thinking that your cholesterol level has anything to do with your risk for a heart attack or stroke, cardiovascular disease in general. All right, let's see if there's any questions. Oh, Michelle, yes, you're Dutch. You're Dutch. Oh, you're Dutch. I am scheduled to speak at an event in Amsterdam in June. It's been postponed like twice already. It was supposed to have already happened twice, and they keep postponing it because of COVID. It's the Ancestral Health Symposium of the Netherlands. Let me see if I can post a link, or just, I mean, you can look it up. I think it's like ancestralhealth.nl or something, but I'm going to be there. Gary Taubes is going to be there. Tim Noakes, Eric Westman is supposed to be there. It's really going to be a dynamite event if we can actually have it. But I think right now it's scheduled to happen in June. Let me see. I'm trying to find a link and post it. Yeah, 2022. So I'll post a link for it there on the chat. Oh, you had a ticket. There you go. So you don't even need the link, but there it is for anyone else who happens to be in or near the Netherlands. Chow CEO. I don't know if that's Chris Bear or Miriam Bear. I don't know if that's Keto Chow CEO or not, but Dr. Westman and you are the voice of reason. And here in New York. So you are not Chris Bear because they are in Utah. You know, I try. The reason I got started with keto without the crazy is, and that I didn't brainstorm that. I was just doing a video one day and it just came out. And I was like, ooh, that's good. I got to use that. So ever since it just came out spontaneously, ever since that particular video, I've been using it. But I've probably said numerous times, I've been eating some variation of a low carb or ketogenic diet for almost 20 years. And, sometimes really strict, sometimes not. And I feel very fortunate that I got started in it before Facebook even existed, Reddit, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. They didn't even exist when I was new to all this. So there was so much less confusion and overwhelm and conflicting information. And I guess I provide information the way I would want someone to provide it to me if I was new to this. And I can tell you exactly, like I keep this here for, to keep it handy, the book that Dr. Westman and I wrote together, End Your Carb Confusion. This is the book I would want if I was brand new to keto in 2021 or going into 2022. If I didn't know where to start, because there's 800 million people on YouTube and Reddit and Instagram saying different things, who do you believe? Who do you trust? This is the book that I would tell me what to do and why, and tell me how to do it in the simplest, least complicated, most effective way possible. And I hope we accomplish that. But let's see if there's any other question. I don't live in Amsterdam, so I cannot answer your question, Engelbert. You often ask some spicy questions. I know you realize that, right? First time catching me live. Alex, hello. Connecticut, Australia. We are international. The plot thickens. Do you think omega oils, EPA and DHEA help? No, I'm not. Yeah, I know you're not the keto channel because you're in New York. Do I think the fish oil help? That's a good question. I think if you know that you're not getting enough of those from your diet, it's probably not a bad idea to take them. The research on them, to me personally, is underwhelming. I'm not blown away by studies I've seen on fish oil and the omega-3s, but those of you who follow the researcher James DiNicolantonio, he's well known for his book, The Salt Fix. He's like the salt guy. I don't agree with some of what he says on other stuff. I think on certain things he's spot on, but he often points out that a lot of the research on the omega-3 fatty acids is not so great, because the studies do not call for people also reducing their intake of omega-6. And if in the modern diet, kind of the whole point of supplementing with those omega-3s is to restore that balance between the omega-3 and the omega-6, if you're just adding omega-3 more and more, well, that might help, but it would probably help even more if you cut back on the omega-6. At least that's his opinion. I don't fearmonger quite so much about the omega-6, so I don't really know what to say. Frankly, if you're concerned about cardiovascular health, in my opinion, as not a doctor, this is not medical advice, in my educated opinion, the number one and number two thing you can do is keep your blood sugar and your blood glucose and your insulin levels within a healthy range. Like, I would say those are massive risk factors for cardiovascular disease, is chronically high blood glucose and insulin. Is it normal to have cravings and hunger before your period, even when doing keto? Yes, it is. That's an easy one. Yes, it is. And you can either indulge, you can either just eat the carbs, no big deal, move on with your life, use keto versions, use, keto cookies, keto brownies, keto, use alternative sweetener versions of sugary foods, or just white knuckle it, just tough it out and just wait till it passes. Giving 2 copies as gift for the holidays. Thank you, Melissa. I think she's referring to my giving copies of End Your Carb Confusion. Do be careful though. Make sure that you're not going to accidentally offend somebody. Like, hey, I noticed you're 50 pounds overweight. I got you this for Christmas. Like, maybe not the greatest idea. If it's somebody that is already interested in low carb and ketogenic diets and like has maybe even asked for help or has expressed an interest, great idea. Otherwise, I think you can get yourself into some trouble gifting this. Like, hey, you might want to get that acne in check. Why don't you read this book? Hey, I notice you have, I don't know what, fatty liver. You can't see somebody's fatty liver from the outside, but just got LMNT electrolytes. Have you tried? What do I think? Yes, I use LMNT myself. So Alex is asking about the electrolyte product LMNT. It's pronounced LMNT. I have LMNT. I use it. I enjoy it. I don't think I need it. Like, I personally have never really experienced muscle cramps or headaches or dizziness or a lot of the other things that extra supplemental sodium and potassium and magnesium can help. But every now and then I just like to use it. So I do have LMNT, and it's expensive. Like, I'm not going to, so if you go to any one of my YouTube videos, I have an affiliate link. So, if you want to send me some love and order your own LMNT, you can buy it through my link. But I happen to know the 3 gentlemen that created the product and own the company. I know them personally. I like them. I respect them. I think they are honorable and they have a lot of integrity, which is kind of rare in the keto world today. So if let's just say I trust the product. I trust the product. I trust the people that make the product. If you don't know, it actually happens to be those of you that recognize these names: Rob Wolf, who's very well known in the ancestral health world, and Tyler Cartwright and Luis Villasenor, who founded Keto Gains. The 3 of them created LMNT, and I am like honored to know all of them. Who else do we have? Casey Durango is awesome. She's no nonsense and not overwhelming. I adore Casey. Yes. So those of you, Casey Durango, I think her website, I think, is caseydurango.com. It's not, but she goes by Go Keto with Casey. She has a very active Patreon community. She puts out tons and tons of videos. She just sticks to basically Dr. Westman's page 4 diet. She's lost almost 100 pounds, and she doesn't mess around. She doesn't sugarcoat stuff. She doesn't, she and I have very different styles. She's a lot more like, tell you like it is, stop kidding yourself, do the diet or don't, leave me alone. Like, don't shit or get off the pot, as we say in the US, like, do it or don't, but stop complaining about it. But I adore Casey, and I know her in real life. As they see, she lives about an hour from me. There's Kim tuning in from Guam. Hey, Kim. Do I think vegans are misguided? It depends. I think a vegan diet is nutritionally incomplete. I think over the long term, you are going to run into some problems if you are not very diligent about supplementation and covering all your nutritional bases. But it depends on how we define misguided. I respect that some people would like to have a diet where they know that an animal has not deliberately been killed for them to eat. So I wish they would be lacto-ovo, because you can still eat eggs and dairy products and give an animal a very loving, comfortable life and get their eggs and get their dairy products. But some people think that's exploitation of the animal. But to each their own. I don't really, I don't care what anyone does, but I want the vegans to stop pushing their agenda of getting everyone else to stop eating meat. I'm not out there protesting for them to start eating meat. So why don't they leave me alone instead of trying to get me to stop eating meat? Like, I don't really care what anyone else eats, but they need to stay out of my business and not care what I eat either. So that's my thought on that matter. Is keto sustainable? I may get bored. I did a very, very long ranty video. It's very sustainable depending on how you define keto. What are you eating? If you don't like the foods you're eating, no, it's not sustainable. Find foods that are very low in carbohydrate that you enjoy and that you love, and then it's absolutely sustainable. The only reason something is not sustainable is if you hate doing it and it's really, really hard to do. So organize your keto diet in a way that you don't hate it and it's not hard to do. You know, don't force yourself to eat things you don't like. You don't have to use coconut oil. You don't have to eat avocados. You don't have to put MCT oil in your coffee. Just eat foods that are low in carbs. And if you can find enough variety of foods that are low in carbs that you enjoy, then I think it's absolutely sustainable. Why am I never hungry doing keto or low carb? I do intermittent fasting as well. I don't eat till about 6 p.m. only because it's dinner time, but I'm not hungry. Why? Did you read our book? Our book explains why. Even when you're not, when you are on a very strict ketogenic diet, especially if you're doing some fasting, which you are, when your insulin level is very low, you are burning fat, including all of your stored body fat. And so unless you are like really skeletal, you have plenty of stored food all over your body. So even when we are not ingesting food at the cellular level internally, your body is eating. So you don't necessarily feel as hungry for food from the outside because your cells are getting fed from the inside. So it depends on your situation though. If you're still trying to lose 50 pounds, 100 pounds, great. If you are underweight, please eat like it. So I can't recommend anything, but that's why you're not hungry. And for so many people, and again, we talk about this in our book, being up and down on that blood sugar roller coaster, those crazy ups and downs will cause you to feel really hungry. Even if you just ate an hour or two ago, you could have eaten 300 or 400 or 500 calories 2 hours ago. And now you're ravenous. And what? Is it because those 500 calories weren't enough to keep you satisfied for 2 whopping hours? Or is it because your blood sugar is tanking and your nervous system is saying, oh my God, crisis, crisis, go get food, go get food. Now that you are off of that blood sugar roller coaster and you're just kind of really steady throughout the day, you don't get those ravenous onsets of like emergency hunger. It's entirely hormonal, basically. I hope that makes sense. Giving diet books to fat people is a bit offensive. Yeah, that's why I said you be careful about. I love if somebody wants to buy a couple of extra copies of any of my books and gift them, but be careful about how that message will be received by the person you're giving it to. That's definitely a thing. We might have some keto newbies here. Amy, spelled differently from my Amy, said, I just read somewhere that the metallic taste in my mouth is a sign I am in ketosis. Is this true? If yes, is there a way to get rid of the metallic taste? Amy, congratulations. That is true. Some people get the keto breath, not everyone does. So when we talk about ketones, there are 3 different kinds of ketone molecules, and it's a little more complicated than this, but the simple version is there are 3 different kinds of ketones. One is beta hydroxybutyrate. One is acetoacetate, that if you ever measure urine ketones with those urine test strips, that detects acetoacetate in your urine. If you measure blood ketones with one of those blood meters, you are measuring beta hydroxybutyrate. The third ketone is acetone, just like nail polish remover acetone. And it's a volatile organic acid that can be expelled in your breath. So you called it metallic. Some people call it fruity. Some people say it's just plain bad, but that's even though it tastes awful and it might be offensive to people around you, it is a good sign that you're in ketosis. The way to get rid of it, stay hydrated, make sure you're drinking enough water. You could increase your carb intake a teeny tiny bit to take the edge off, or I would just use sugar-free mints or sugar-free gum. That really is kind of the best way. Or, brush your teeth regularly, use mouthwash regularly. if you're in a work situation or a home situation where you're in close contact with other people and you want to make sure that you don't have nasty keto breath. If you live alone and nobody cares, nobody cares. Do I have to talk more slowly? I talk really fast. A1C. Donald says, I had an A1C of 6.1. I lost 40 pounds. Congratulations, Donald. A1C is now 5.3. Is it possible to cheat on occasion with carb foods? I basically am keto, but on holidays I'll cheat a little. Yeah, let me actually link to a blog post that I wrote about that exact topic. Because it just depends on what you consider a cheat. If you having extra carbs once in a while here and there is not a big deal at all if you are wired such that you have the one meal, the special holiday, and you get right back to normal. There's a lot of people who the one meal is going to spiral into 6 weeks of an all-out bender on sugar and starch. And so some of us do better never ever straying from strict keto. Many other people can have the occasional little carby thing and move right back on. Dr. Westman says, don't let a holiday become a holiday week or a holiday month or a holiday 6 months. Do you know what I mean? So the answer to that is it depends on how you are wired, really. Might me and Casey do a video together? Yeah, probably someday. Probably someday. Pam, hey Pam Garrettson, hope you're doing well. Oh, my friend Pam. Talk about the confusion between ketosis in a healthy person and ketoacidosis, which can be fatal in a diabetic. Again, I'll link to an article that I wrote for Keto Chow. I wrote a detailed article. So, I'm a freelance writer. I'm putting a link in the chat right now to that, this keto cause ketoacidosis, because, I do one-on-one consultations. The vast majority of my income comes from writing in health and nutrition. And thankfully, most of what I get to write about is keto and low carb oriented. So those of you that are familiar with the company Keto Chow, I do write for their blog once in a while. And I not long ago wrote an article about that exact thing. Safe, benign, helpful, therapeutic nutritional ketosis versus terrible, awful ketoacidosis. They are not the same thing. So that link is there. Too many sugar-free mints with xylitol can make you poop. Yes. So if you are going to combat the keto breath or anything else with sugar-free items, some people are more sensitive to some of the sugar alcohols than others. Sorbitol and xylitol, which are very common sweeteners in those mints and gums, are kind of notorious for causing gas and loose stools. I think you have to eat a lot of them to have that. Like if you're talking about mints, you have to eat a lot of mints to get that amount that would have that effect. But if you're ultra sensitive, and we know that mannitol and maltitol, I think the other two sugar alcohols are pretty notorious for we call it disaster pants, although you'll hear that term more with MCT. If you overdo MCT oil, you better have a bathroom really nearby. But ask me how I know about the damage that the mannitol, maybe it was maltitol, whatever. Long time ago, I haven't had peanuts or peanut butter in years, but several years ago when I was still on the peanut binge food wagon, Russell Stover makes sugar-free chocolate covered peanuts. And I got myself a little bag of it from the Walgreens, whatever, 3 ounces, whatever. I happened to eat the whole bag in one sitting. I was very, very sorry the next day. Let's just put it that way. If you happen to have really bad constipation, go to your drugstore, get yourself some of those sugar-free chocolates, enjoy, and tomorrow you won't be constipated anymore. Pro tip. Oh, God.
Oh, Pam, were you asking about a vegan who, so you said veganism was good short term, but not long term.
Yeah. So the thing is, people that do a vegan diet very often do feel better at first. And it could be because you can do a garbage vegan diet or a very nutritious vegan diet, same as keto. You can do a bullshit garbage, nutrient deficient keto diet, or you can do a really good keto diet. So, depending on what people do, if they go vegan, they also end up cutting out a lot of just junk food because of certain ingredients they're no longer eating. Their overall, the quality of their diet might be better. So in the initial stage, some of them do feel better. And then after a while, though, when some of those deficiencies start to set in, it starts to take a turn for the worse. But many people who adopt a vegan diet do feel better at first. And because they feel so good, it's very difficult for them to recognize when they hit that wall. Like, well, no, it can't be my diet. I felt so good 4 months ago. Like, I can't, you know.
Total carbs versus net carbs. Yeah, thanks, Amy. It's just easier. There's no math. Who wants to do math at the table?
I eat low carb, but I'm absolutely a foodie. I love food. I love food shopping. I love looking at cookbooks. I love farmers markets. The day I have to open an app at the dinner table, somebody just shoot me. Put me out of my misery because I ain't doing it. Like, I'm not saying that's never helpful, right? I've always said there's a rationale for tracking and weighing and measuring your food. I'm not there right now. Of all the things that I know I could be doing better in my diet, I don't need the food scale on the app to help me with those particular specifics. Those of you who know who Mark Sisson is from Mark's Daily Apple, marksdailyapple.com, I adore Mark Sisson. Again, I think he's one of the few people who's left that's genuine, that is rational, that doesn't fearmonger and stuff. And he said on a podcast, I don't know, a year or two ago, something like, because he was talking about the explosion and all these wearable apps, the step meter and the heart rate meter and the sleep ring and this, and there's like 86 different things that you could wear to track every little metric. And he said, the day I need an app to tell me whether or not I'm happy, just take me out and shoot me. Like, oh, what's my recovery time? What's my happiness score? What's steps? What's this? What's that? How do you feel? So I adore Mark Sisson.
Keto breath went away. Yeah, I think the keto breath won't last forever. It does tend to go away, but it can flare up, and depending on how deeply in ketosis you are, it can get bad. My endocrinologist is from Pakistan and he went to medical school there. Would you be comfortable with that situation? What situation? Seeing an endocrinologist in the US who was trained in Pakistan? Yeah. As long as that medical professional was able to explain to me any recommendations he or she makes for me. Why do you want me to do this? Why are you recommending this particular medication at this particular dose? If they can explain to me their medical reasoning, I don't care where they went to school or what they were, or where they're from. I want to know their medical knowledge, their clinical judgment is what I care about, not where they studied. I think that's all the questions I see for now. What, I've been on 33 minutes? Oh, it feels like longer than that. Sugar-free Brussels over mints. Yeah, it was a learning lesson. It was a learning experience. And I just didn't, that's so addictive for me personally anyway, like a peanut anything, but chocolate covered peanuts, it didn't even occur to me. And frankly, at the time, my thyroid was still a little messy. And so one of my many thyroid symptoms was terrible constipation. So the fact that it
got things moving was actually a blessing. I mean, it was a good thing for me, but for a normal, and I work from home, so it wasn't too bad. If you work in an office or you were on the subway or the metro or something, you might have some trouble if it hits you at that moment. Let's see what else we have. Why do they talk about carb cycling? Is it necessary to break the long-term ketosis? This is such a contentious issue. I'm going to just be honest. I don't know if I have an educated opinion on it. I think, I don't think everyone needs to do it. I know plenty of people that have just lost weight, you know, I mean, with the normal ups and downs that happen over the course of long-term weight loss, like little blips, but lost weight, they didn't need to break it or like have a carb refeed. They just kind of stayed the course and it happened. I wonder if some of the people that need these sort of carb ups or carb cycling, like here's where I think that can be helpful. In people that are younger, like people that don't need a therapeutic ketogenic diet to begin with. That's the issue that we have going on right now. We have a lot of very active, lean, healthy people who would probably be lean and healthy on any diet. I mean, not garbage, but like on a higher carb diet or a keto diet or paleo or anything in between. They don't need ultra strict keto. And so for their activity level, I think it's understandable why they feel better with a little bit of carbs. For somebody who's type 2 diabetic and 100 pounds overweight, I don't think they need a carb refeed. Now, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world for them to have just a little, I hate the word cheat, a fun meal, a higher carb meal, to have a higher carb meal once in a while. But do they need to have like a refeed? Probably not. So, which of my questions have you enjoyed? Well, you know, to be honest with you, sir or ma'am, I wouldn't say I've enjoyed them. I've tried to answer them without getting too emotional, let's put it that way. So going back to what I said, I actually just recorded a video about this yesterday. It won't air until won't be published for a few weeks. But when I was saying these sort of young, lean, healthy, active people doing ultra strict keto diets, and then they wonder why they don't feel so great. Because most of them fast a lot and they don't eat all that much. And they wonder when they're doing CrossFit 86 times a week, they wonder why they feel like garbage. So what I see, something that I see happening is, and I did a video on this a long time ago, I think, but I don't know, is people applying advice to themselves that is not meant for them. For example, you could do a very, very ultra strict medical ketogenic diet for epilepsy. Some people use it as an additional therapy for cancer treatment. If they're doing chemo, radiation, and they'll do keto on top of it, whatever with stuff. And again, not making medical recommendations for anyone. I'm just saying some people do this. That's a very different kind of approach than someone who just wants to lose 20 pounds or than someone who is a bodybuilder. Entirely different situations. So and this is why keto means 8 million different things depending on who you ask. So when somebody online says something like, oh, you should do X and Y, who are they talking to? If that person is in a completely different situation than you are, then whatever advice that person is being given might not apply to you. So this is what I see really is people like healthy, active, fit, muscular people eating like cancer patients or eating like children with untreatable epilepsy. These are very different nutritional scenarios. So try not to follow recommendations that are intended for circumstances that are entirely different from your circumstances. I see this all the time, and it's like job security, I guess, right? But I see that a lot.
Disaster pants. Yeah, it's true. I didn't coin that phrase, disaster pants. I mean, that's a lot of people call it that. It's not pretty, let's put it that way. But if you are constipated, get yourself some MCT oil. I know how you feel about gut bacteria, so sugar substitute. Oh, do you think keto yogurt okay with the live cultures? Yeah, I think it's fine to eat yogurt. I think a lot of people do really well with yogurt. I just think trying to reverse engineer your health via your gut flora tends to be a losing proposition, but that doesn't mean it's bad to eat yogurt. I think if it works for you, it's fine. Oh, there's Older Pennsylvanian. I don't remember your real name, but I've seen you around. Hello, thanks for joining. Joy, you lost 74 pounds in 14 months. That's amazing. Congratulations. Holy cow. Any thoughts on Mike Huckabee, the politician, losing a lot of weight and blowing back up? Yeah, he probably stopped following the diet. You know who else gains all their weight back? Everyone else who starts eating higher carbs again. Or not everyone else, depending on how you do it. It's nothing. I have zero comments on Huckabee's politics. For me to comment on him doing a lower carb diet, the fact that he regained the weight, welcome to the club. There's only like several thousand people who are in that same boat. I can almost guarantee that if he would just cut the carbs again, he'd probably do fine. Guess what? When you're doing something and it's working and you stop doing it, it stops working. What a shock, right? Like if something works, then if you want it to work, you actually have to do it. And believe me, I say that as someone who has about 3 or 4 strategies for things in her life, apart from diet, apart from health and nutrition, that she knows would work if she could just get herself to friggin' do them. But at least I'm aware. I'm not sitting here complaining and whining, oh, why is my thing like this? Why is it? You know why? Because I'm not doing the work. Because I'm not taking the action I need to take to get the results I want. Not tracking, down 60 pounds since February. That's amazing. So much better since relaxing and simplifying, at my lowest in 15 years. Yeah, I think, you know, there is a time and place for tracking. Like when somebody's really, really stalled, then I think it can help, because like a lot of people are not aware of the little bits and pieces they're grabbing here and there, or like, are you using 1 tablespoon of cream in your coffee, or do you think it's 1 and it's actually 3? Do you think you're having 2 ounces of cheese and it's actually 5? So there's a place for that. But what I just think it's not often necessary. I have recommended people to do it, and I've also recommended people to stop doing it. It really depends on the situation, on everybody's. This is why I do private consultations. I hate giving blanket recommendations, but one of my favorite things to hear is when people say that they've stopped the tracking and they feel liberated. They feel free, and they're either still doing just as well, or in most cases, they're actually doing better than they were when they were tracking. So, and especially if you're tracking, what are you tracking? Are you tracking the macros? Some bullshit calculator online gave you this. I'm supposed to have 4,600 grams of fat and I can only have 4 grams of protein. And my carb manager says that. So if you're tracking the wrong things, then you could be tracking and you're still going to hit a brick wall. What are you tracking? But again, I'm not opposed to tracking. We want to track the right things for the right reasons. And I guess that's all I can say. Like, I'm not opposed to tracking. I just see it make people, this way of eating for some people is hard enough, like, especially if they're new. You're going to tell someone you have to stop eating like 80% of what you've eaten your whole life, your bread, pasta, rice, potatoes, cereal, cookies, regular milk, whatever. You have to stop eating all of that. And not only now do you have to basically focus on proteins and non-starchy vegetables and healthy fats, you have to weigh and measure the food, track the food, put it in an app, do this, do that. That's like an automatic deal breaker for a lot of people. How about you start by just not eating the carbs and just eat the other food for a couple of weeks, and let's see how things tease out first. Okay, I am going to stop soon. It's been 45 minutes. Orthorexia, Kim said I will post a link. You know, I'm so ahead of my time. I wrote a book review on my blog of a book that was sorry, I don't have my glasses on. I'm sitting far from my computer. I wrote a book review of a book that was written by the man who coined the phrase orthorexia. So I'll put a link to that right there. I recommend the book. It's called Health Food Junkies. It's a really good book because it is eating a ketogenic diet or eating a paleo diet or a low fat diet or a Mediterranean diet or any particular diet is not an eating disorder and it's not a problem. But there is such a thing as taking it too far, and that is orthorexia. When you become like literally terrified of a dietary misstep, when you plan your whole life and all your social engagements around the food that will or will not be there, when you kind of have just a lot of morality and shame and purity type thinking around food, like when so most of us who do keto or any other diet for that matter, even veganism, Mediterranean, what's the other, macrobiotic, I always forget the word, but whatever type of diet, we tend to do it because we want to be healthier, right? Like we want to improve our health, we want to feel better, we want to help an issue that we may be having, and that's great. But when you become so obsessed with your food, the kind of food, the amount, the quality, the provenance, when it actually starts to work against your health, that's orthorexia. Like when you are so concerned about the food that it's actually it's having a negative, you came into this to have a positive impact upon your health. When you become so crazy that it starts to become negative, that's orthorexia. But you can just, everybody check out that blog post and that book review. Okay, now I should end soon. I have no idea who Robert Young is, so I can't comment on the acid alkaline, except that you really can't acidify or alkalinize your blood with your diet. It's really, really hard to do. I don't believe in the acid alkaline thing, but I don't know who Robert Young is. Yolanda, thank you. This is my favorite color. Royal purple, like dark purple, is my absolute favorite color. Love it. So thank you for that. We all experience challenges. Yeah, you look so beautiful. Oh, thank you, Dashan girl. Oh, look at all these compliments. You know, I hope I don't cry because I have mascara on right now. I still have depression. It still kind of comes and goes, but it's been much better for a while now. And my thyroid, like, I've been off my thyroid medicine for almost August, September, October, almost 5 months. I've been off of my thyroid medicine. Some of my symptoms are starting to creep back, but anyway, my point is, most days I have and I work from home, so it's easy for me to just wear pajamas all day, or if I'm not in pajamas, I'll get dressed, but I'm wearing big baggy sweatshirts, big baggy ratty old stained t-shirts, big baggy elastic waist pants. So the fact that I even want to put makeup on and jewelry and a nice color, if you've ever had bad depression or you know someone who has, you feel like a completely different person when it's gone. You really do. And that's why those of you, you've heard me say, I'm working on a thyroid my next little writing project is thyroid, because so many cases of depression are undiagnosed hypothyroidism. Not all of them. I mean, depression can be caused by so many different things. But when you have depression and
5 or 6 or 10 other hypothyroid symptoms. Oh, God, got some thyroid medicine for God's sake. So anyway, and I don't want to pretend like I feel great all the time. I don't. But when I do, that's when I can be like, oh, I'll go on YouTube. I'll put on a nice sweater. Like, so. No. And also, you know, for anyone that makes it sound like keto is this magical cure for every single thing you have, it's not. I wish it was that easy. I did a video. You can search my channel. It's very old. Scroll through the thumbnails. I did a video on keto for mental health. I know personally plenty of people who had depression or bipolar or anxiety, and keto totally smoothed it over. They feel great. Now, that's not true for me. I can only imagine how much worse would my depression be or have been if I wasn't on keto. Like, maybe this is actually so much better than it would otherwise be. But I just want to, like, for anyone out there who is struggling with a health issue, even though you're doing keto, you're not alone. Like, keto's really, really powerful. And I even say the magical keto pixie dust, it's magical, but it's not that magical. We still sometimes have some stuff that just happens. So what else can I say? All right, let me burn through the rest of the questions and then we'll end. Ooh, do I have a video explaining thyroid test results and how to fix? I'm going to post some links to a couple of things I've done on thyroid here. You can email me privately if you want, because you might have questions that are not answered in these posts, but start there with that blog post. And then I'm going to post a link to a video I did on thyroid a couple of months ago. Give me 1 second. I got to find it here. It's going to start the sound up for a sec. So there's one of the videos. I would start there and let's see. Depending on where, you know, and you said how to fix low or high values when on keto carnivore. The thing is, and this is something I'm really going to emphasize in the book thing I'm writing, the numbers are a gut, like you're high or low. Okay, that's fine. How do you feel? If you feel well, if you don't have any really bothersome signs and symptoms, then it almost doesn't matter what the numbers are. What matters is how you feel. Now, if you feel like garbage, then okay, what's out of whack here and what do we need to do about it? But if you don't have any symptoms, if you feel fine, then it's not even a problem. What do I think of the Pegan diet? I think that Mark Hyman sails whichever way the winds are blowing. And but look, Pegan is what, like paleo, what is that, pescatarian vegan or paleo vegan? If Pegan, like if I think I'm remembering that correctly, Pegan is like pescatarian and vegan, like vegan with fish, that's fine as long as you're eating some animal proteins. Probably a normal omnivorous diet is better, but if you are going to be vegan, then please eat some fish, but then you're not vegan anymore. I guess you're vegan. Get some CBD oil. Yeah, I have, somebody else has recommended some CBD gummies to me. I may look into that, but it's so much better than it was. I cannot tell you, people. But I also wonder how much of that is the time of year. But no, actually, I started to feel better in like August, July, August. I have what I think is reverse seasonal affective disorder. You know, there's people who start to feel really blue and low in the winter because they're not getting the daylight and the sun and whatever. I come back to life in October. I hate the summer. I hate the heat. I hate the humidity. And it's like, it makes me tired. It gives me headaches. I like winter clothing, like long sleeves, sweaters. The more I can cover up, the happier I am. So even it's a bummer that like at 5:30 it's dark out. I mean, that is a little, because it always feels later than it is. So that's strange. But other than that, cooler weather,
longer nights, the smoky smell in the air. So I don't know, but I was feeling much better before the fall even came on. So that's probably not it. Do I see an endocrinologist? Yes, I do. Thank you for your concern. My body tells me what's going on. Yeah. Purple and blue is supposed to be good for the parasympathetic. I did not know that. Yeah, there's a lot of color theory. I don't know how much stock I put into it, but if you put any credence into like Ayurvedic medicine, I think they do a lot with colors and the different chakra, like each chakra has a different color. I don't know, like I don't really subscribe to that very much. I find it interesting I think of it like horoscopes. It's fun to dabble in, like, ooh, what does it say today? Or like, but I don't, run my life by it. It's just kind of like a novelty thing to look at. Okay, I'm going to end soon. Glad you're feeling better. Thank you so much, the other Amy. Another live here in New Zealand. Yeah, Rebecca, I'm about to end, unfortunately. I don't know how long ago you left that comment, but insulin resistance. I had to take mine to a naturopath. Yeah, Pamela's saying about insulin, we have this single-minded focus on blood glucose. And so there's millions of people, without exaggeration, millions of people whose fasting sugar and whose A1C are normal, but the insulin is through the roof and they have all these like unexplained health problems. And the only reason they're unexplained is because nobody's looking at their insulin level. Oh, vegan is paleo and vegan. Well, nobody in the Paleolithic would have been a vegan. So that's kind of like a dumb, no, I'm not blaming you, but this is Mark Hyman's thing, isn't it? The vegan. In the the paleo diet is not a vegan diet. So I don't even know, like, how can vegan even be a thing? It's like the vegan carnivore diet. Those two things don't mix. Vegan and carnivore are totally different. So like vegan and paleo, not the same. Although technically, the modern incarnation of the paleo diet is just no grains, no legumes, no dairy. It doesn't say that you have to eat animal products. So if you're eating nothing but kale and Brussels sprouts and broccoli and nuts and seeds, I guess that's a vegan diet. But everyone knows what I mean here, right? I live in Mexico, nice and cool till March, lots of sun, vitamin D. Yeah. Warm March through June, then rain till October. Yeah. So somebody's asking about the test for insulin resistance. There's not really a test for insulin resistance. You can test fasting insulin, just like a fasting glucose, fasting insulin. And there's something called HOMA-IR, HOMA-IR. And what that is a mathematical relationship between your glucose and insulin. That's how you identify, oh, my fasting glucose is only 88, milligrams per deciliter. Those of you in millimolar, I don't know what that is. But I'm going to have to learn how to start doing that in my head. It's normal, like a normal amount. But your insulin, your fasting insulin is, 32. You have a very high HOMA-IR versus someone with a fasting glucose of the same, let's say 88, and a fasting insulin that's like 6. So, and you can sort of detect insulin resistance indirectly. If you look at a lot of the other blood, basically what you're looking for is metabolic syndrome. That's what insulin resistance is. So if somebody can check off, not all of these, but a few, high blood pressure, large waist circumference, like that apple shape, high triglycerides, low HDL cholesterol, and elevated fasting blood glucose. Some people would also add elevated uric acid to that criteria. Or if you have a lot of skin tags, unexplained, like I said, hypertension, unexplained high blood pressure in young men, erectile dysfunction. I just wrote a blog post about that for someone else. It hasn't been published yet. Like if you're a young man and there's no physical trauma to the region, you don't have depression, and like young men who should be spring loaded, so to speak, and like ready to go anytime, anywhere. If that's not you, look into insulin resistance, because that's a major cause of erectile dysfunction in men of any age, but especially younger men, that there's no other real explanation for it. My daughter, 12, has epilepsy. How can I get her on keto? If she doesn't want to do it, you can't force her. But the ketogenic diet was literally developed as an epilepsy treatment. It was not initially developed for weight loss or diabetes or PCOS. It was an epilepsy diet. So I don't know if she can send me, if she wants to talk to like someone who's not her mom, who'll be like, this is worth trying. Or, I could even put you in touch. I know at least one or two people that have had amazing results with their epilepsy with keto. Like people that were on piles of medication every day that are now either medication free, completely drug free, or on like one medication. If she wants to kind of communicate with them, email me privately, we can do that. But you can't force, if she was 4 years old and you were in complete control of her food supply, you could do it. But if she doesn't want to do it, she doesn't want to do it. But I would tell her this is literally an epilepsy diet. It just happens to work for weight loss and diabetes too. Like, it's a nice little coincidence. The jewel tones. Thanks, Kim. I do love the jewel tones. In watching my channel, if you ever scroll through the thumbnails, you will notice you've never seen me in pastel ever. You never see me in like mint green, powder blue, light pink. It's always dark, kind of jewel. I love jewel tones. So if they make me feel good, I guess they make me feel good. Do you have to ask physicians to test your insulin level? Yeah, you usually have to specifically request it because it's not a standard test. Some doctors will do it, no problem. Some doctors will be like, what? I'm not doing that. But you do have to specifically ask for it and emphasize that you want fasting insulin, because they're going to be like, oh, you mean glucose? No, I mean insulin. If I don't know anything about outside the US, but if you're watching from inside the US, in any of the 50 states except New York, New Jersey, and Rhode Island, I'm sorry for you 3 states, you can order your own blood work. A fasting insulin test is about $34. So you can do that. I use directlabs.com. directlabs.com. There's a lot of other websites where you can do it. You print out a requisition and you just go to the Quest lab. They do the blood. You don't need a doctor to do it. Let's see. Does insulin resistance cause low T? Kind of, because it's a multiple hormone feedback loop. What increased insulin will cause, if I'm remembering correctly, it will cause more testosterone to be converted into estrogen. And somebody that has high insulin tends to have more body fat, and body fat itself, fat cells themselves, I think, manufacture estrogen. So when a man starts to have an unbalanced estrogen to testosterone, but yeah, high insulin can, I think, cause lower testosterone. Skin tags are going away. Yeah, Pamela Harris, cool. Yeah, that's something, there's so many things tied to this high insulin thing that people just don't know. The skin tag is kind of an interesting one. How do you reverse gout? Low carb diet. I have a video. Look, I'll post a link to my video that I did on gout. Let's see if it comes up. There it is. I will post a link to the video I did on gout. Whoops. No, I didn't mean to dislike it. I accidentally put a thumbs down on my own video. So there's my gout video. Gout is basically, like you heard me say, elevated uric acid should, in some people's opinion, should be part of metabolic syndrome. So gout comes from the accumulation of uric acid in those joints when you have a big flare-up. Now, if you're already doing keto, you might have some gout flares if you're new to keto, because ketones and uric acid compete for excretion in the kidneys. And so when all of a sudden you have all these ketones in your body that you never really had before, your body is going to prioritize excreting the ketones, and it's going to hold on to the uric acid. And because it's holding on to the uric acid, you might have a gout flare. But over time, that evens out, and eventually most people on keto don't have any gout flares anymore. Alcohol can trigger it though. So if you're on keto, if you're like
having a couple drinks, excuse me, you know, more than usual now and then you might have a flare. There's certain other things that can flare. Fructose is a big one on gout, but if you're on keto, you're not eating, gives me a whole lot of fructose anyway. Let's see. No sugar, high carb, veggies. Yeah, John is saying, I know a nutritionist who had a son with epilepsy. His treatment was no sugar, no high carb, veggies and fruits. He's doing really well. Yeah, I've in various things that I've had to write over the years, I've actually read a fair bit of the keto and epilepsy research. And some people, whether children or adults with epilepsy, need ultra, ultra strict keto. Many don't. Some can just do low-ish carb. Some kids with epilepsy do great on a gluten-free diet, or sometimes gluten-free, casein-free. So they don't even have to do low carb. They just have to do gluten-free, casein-free. And I've heard the same thing, like autism is not my specialty at all, but I've heard the same thing with some kids with autism. Some of them do great on keto. Some of them do great with gluten-free, casein-free. So epilepsy is very, very individual, the response to keto. And I had the great pleasure and honor of meeting Dr. Eric Kosoff, who is kind of the head of the Johns Hopkins epilepsy research team. And that's where like the majority of keto epilepsy research has been done the last many years. And he, I sat next to him we were both signing books and I was like, oh my God, you're Eric Kosoff. Like, oh, like it was like meeting Bon freaking Jovi for me. And so I asked him, because I didn't know, you know, what percentage of people respond to keto with epilepsy? Like what percentage of people actually have their seizures cured or go away? And he said 50%. And I was really surprised in a bad way to hear that. I thought it was more. Now, I think more than 50% see most people who do keto with epilepsy will either be seizure-free or have some improvement, like fewer seizures or less severe seizures. So a decrease in frequency and severity. That was some degree of improvement. And then there's that other percentage who don't, no matter what they do. And that breaks my heart that there's some kids that it has no effect, which is like, oh. Fasting insulin was 4.6. That's fine. Keto carnivore to control narcolepsy. Very cool. That's rare. I know I don't know of any published there might be like one paper on it. And that was not my middle finger, by the way. That's my index finger. There might be one paper on it on keto for narcolepsy. I've heard some anecdotes from people. I wish there was more published research, but I just don't know that there's enough people with narcolepsy that even know about keto or have bothered to try it. But that's so cool that it's working for you. I'm so glad to hear that. How long to reverse the dawn phenomenon? I think that's entirely individual. Like it can take a while. So if you've been doing keto for a long time and you still have high morning sugars, I wouldn't worry that much. I think it's much more important where your blood glucose is throughout most of the day, as opposed to that one number first thing in the morning. And then I also think there are some people that might always have it. And again, I don't think it's that big a deal if your glucose is sort of normal throughout most of the rest of the day. I don't think it's that big a deal. But so yeah, if you've been doing keto a while and it's still high, I wouldn't feel too bad. What is my view on diet soda? Funny you should ask. I published a video today or yesterday on artificial sweeteners, so you can watch that. I think they're fine for most people. And I say most people because they are fine for most people. Some people, I think, either find that they stall weight loss. I think that's rare though. And some people also just find that it just perpetuates the craving for sweet things. I don't like, if I have a diet soda once in a while, it doesn't make me want 10 more. It doesn't make me want a muffin or a scone or something. Most people can do diet soda just fine, but that's, you know, not everybody. I always say most. When I eat
really well. I notice my skin looks so much better and younger. Your skin is very clear. What is your secret? Thank you. Hope things are okay in Staten Island. So I was born and raised in Staten Island. I haven't lived in Staten Island in like 30 years. No, not 30. How old? 20 something years. So I've been out of Staten Island for a long time. But I don't, I would like to say that it's keto. I never really had bad skin, so I never really had like cystic acne or eczema, psoriasis, anything like that. But I definitely do believe that keto is excellent for the skin. And one thing, I think I said this on my last live, we know what's not good for the skin, and that's chronically high blood sugar. That will age you faster than anything. But I also wrote a blog post on what insulin does to the skin and how it's a factor in acne and all kinds of other stuff. With the skin tag, somebody mentioned acanthosis nigricans, hidradenitis suppurativa, all these weird skin conditions that come from high insulin. So there's a link to that. Okay, I really do have to end soon, but now there's more questions. Can you reverse type 2 diabetes with just keto, or do you need to do intermittent fasting? One of my favorite questions. You can do it with keto alone if you do it properly. How do you do keto properly? Follow what Eric Westman has been telling his patients in his clinic for 20 years. End Your Carb Confusion is the book. Yeah, you don't have to fast, but that doesn't mean you need to eat 52 times a day. If you skip a meal here and there because you're just not hungry, because keto regulates your appetite so well, that's fine. But you don't have to do any deliberate fasting. Just keep your carbs very, very low. Can asymptomatic hyponatremia cause excessive urination? I don't know. I do not know. If you had hyponatremia, I would think your body would want you to urinate less because you'd want to, well, actually, no, I don't know. I have no idea. I'm sorry. If you think you have hyponatremia, either please get tested or just start using a lot more salt. And you might be on a medication that's there's a lot of medications that maybe cause you to like waste certain minerals. So if you might be taking a medication that could be causing that, you definitely want to look at that. Tissues. Will I still die eventually? Yes, Engelbert, I'm sorry. Keto does not make you immortal no matter what anyone else says. You will still die. That's what Malcolm Kendrick, and I agree with him. When everyone, like a study will say, oh, there was a 40% reduction in mortality. There was a 2% reduction in mortality. No, there wasn't. Everybody, so far as we know, still has a 100% chance of mortality. What you did is prolong life. You delayed the mortality, right? I mean, unless maybe if you're a Christian. Oh, by the way, to all my Jewish brothers and sisters, brethren, happy Hanukkah. So you might believe that there was one person in history that did not have mortality, or he had mortality and he came back, whatever you want to believe. Everybody still dies. There's never any reduction in mortality. There's a reduction in early mortality or mortality from cardiovascular disease. We all have 100% chance of mortality. Keto has cleared up my acne. Yes. Why do you know more than most MDs and DOs? I wouldn't go that far. I appreciate the veiled compliment, but doctors know a ton that I don't. There's a reason they go to school for so long and then have more and more and more training. It's just a different paradigm. This isn't what they're taught. They're just not taught this. I could say more, but they don't know. What do I think of the fasting mimicking diet? I think either fast or don't fast. Like, you know what a fasting mimicking diet is? It's a ketogenic diet. Literally, like you can look up a lot of keto literature, like scientific literature, and it'll say that it's a fasting mimicking diet, or we get a lot of the benefits of fasting by eating a ketogenic diet. And the benefits being lower and steady blood sugar, lower and steady insulin, higher glucagon,
the hormonal state is just different. But you know, if people are having success with the fasting mimicking diet, do it. I support whatever works and whatever someone enjoys and can sustain. But all these new, like the fasting mimicking diet, the fasting bar, like Walter Longo, like the fasting guy sells a fasting bar, a fasting bar. Well, are you eating a bar or are you fasting? Because you can't do, but you're either fasting or you're not. There's a fasting bar, like, I don't know. I mean, I don't, like, he's done a lot of interesting research, but you're either fasting or you're eating, really. And I mean, the whole beauty of keto is that, so you've probably heard the phrase a well-formulated ketogenic diet. I think Stephen Finney probably coined that phrase, but a lot of people use it now. He uses it all the time. And I think it's because he wants to say, I'm talking about the kind of ketogenic diet I talk about with my patients and that I've written about in my books, not this crazy whacked out keto you see on the internet, a well-formulated ketogenic diet that already mimics fasting in a lot of ways, which is why you don't have to deliberately fast on top of that. You can. There may be a rationale for having an eating window and that you don't eat outside those times or whatever, but it's not required if you're doing a proper low carb or keto diet. I'm gonna, last question. What do I think of the carnivore diet? I wrote a very long blog post about this for somebody else's site that I still think is good, but the site has become a lot more commercialized, and there's like ads every 4 seconds. And so I'll post a link to it, I guess, but it's almost hard to read because there's so many ads. Like every 5 sentences, there's an ad. It's so aggravating. I don't think everybody needs the carnivore diet, right? It's all the rage right now. I do think it can be very helpful for some people. I have recommended it to some clients. Again, individual situations, depending on what they were going through. I've actually suggested it to some people for at least some period of time, maybe not forever. I don't have any concerns about safety, at least in the short term. You're not going to get scurvy if you go a month without eating oranges, you know, or even like the vitamin C foods you could get on keto, like broccoli, bell peppers. I'm not worried. I think I'm friendly to whatever works. And I do think the carnivore diet can work for a lot of people. I don't think everybody needs it. I don't think it's optimal. I don't think there's anything that's optimal for everybody, but I think I don't have anything against it, at least in the short term. There's a sparkling canned wine that is sugar-free, carb-free called Flying Embers. I'll take a look for it. I mean, most dry wine is very, very low in carbs. It's not calorie-free, but it's very low in carbs as long as you avoid like the Moscato, the sweet Riesling. If you stick to a dry wine, even white, it's fine. Okay, we're like an hour and 18 minutes. I'm going to quit now. Thank you so much for hanging out with me on a Wednesday night or a Thursday morning if you're watching from Australia or New Zealand. And subscribe to my channel if you're not already. I am on Patreon. And if you like this interactive live chat Q&A, I do this once a week for my patrons. $5 a month, US, $5 a month. You could have a weekly live interact. Now it's a group chat. I also post, I'm going to start getting a little more active than I have been, like exclusive videos and audio that are only for my patrons. It's not on my public channel, not on my blog. So check that out. It's I'll just put a link. It's patreon.com/2itnutrition. Check it out. $5 and you can have this every week. Okay. Thank you. And thanks so much, everyone, for the comments on the purple and the everything. Go enjoy the rest of your night or the rest of your day. See ya.